Today I'm reacting to your Friday Night SmackDown hot takes. And unlike SmackDown, I promise that this video won't go down for 40 minutes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. By the way, if you are looking for our review of this particular episode of Friday Night SmackDown, it is going to be up and available over on patreon.com/SantiZab. Over there, we upload extra content that never gets uploaded here because we use footage over there and it would just get blocked here due to copyright. So go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZab. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's see what you guys sent in. Charlotte and Alexa's storyline is progressingly good. Seems like they're going to win the tag team championships at SummerSlam, which is what I'm rooting for. Well, ladies and gentlemen, people are starting to root for Charlotte Flair. And if you told me that people were going to root for Charlotte Flair with how 2025 started with her winning the Royal Rumble, I'd call you absolutely insane. But look at that. You take Charlotte Flair, you remove her from the main event scene, you remove her from just only going after the Women's World Championships at all times, and you try something different with her. You give her different character dynamics. You give her character relationships that she hasn't explored before. You make her vulnerable, and all of a sudden you have an intriguing character that people might actually, dare I say, root for. I'm intrigued with what they're doing here because this is kind of uncharted territory for Charlotte Flair because I genuinely cannot think of a time that she's been in the WWE and hasn't been exclusively in the Women's World Championship pictures. So this is a breath of fresh air, and working alongside Alexa Bliss has really brought out the most interesting version of Charlotte Flair in just the last month. And yes, I've seen this movie before with WWE. This is just two single superstars being put together to go after the tag titles. This is a story as old as time in the WWE, but hey, at least it's something different for Charlotte Flair, and I'm okay with that. The Saudi crowd needs to get the respect they deserve. They get better and better each show. This is something that I've been trying to champion for the last couple of years worth of Saudi shows because it's true. They do get better every single show. They get louder, they get more passionate, and this is a complete, stark, upside down difference compared to the very first Saudi show that the WWE did all of those years ago, where they were at dinner tables basically scared to make any amount of sound. But if you watch this episode of Friday Night SmackDown and you didn't come away at least at the very least impressed with how awesome this crowd was, I think that you just weren't watching the same show that I was. They were getting like to the levels of hype and to the levels of noise and creating thunderous pops to like the only comparable crowds right now to the Saudi crowd was the European crowds. I'm Canadian, and I know that many of you are American, but I'm sorry, based on what I saw from this crowd in Saudi Arabia, they're better than all of the American and Canadian crowds. That being said, I also believe that they know that they are being judged by the whole world, so they come together as a community to make sure that they make their collective crowd seem as awesome as possible on the world stage. But yeah, I never want to hear any Saudi crowd slander. You cannot like WWE going to Saudi Arabia. That is your opinion, but the actual crowd itself, they are just objectively good. That is just a fundamental fact now that just simply cannot be argued against. They are a solid crowd. Oh my God, guys, Cody is going to talk for the first time since last week. He's going to redeem himself. Here we go. Dude, I cannot believe it's now been 2 weeks since not being able to hear Cody Rhodes say a single word. For those that might be watching this episode of Hot Takes that are American and you watch this on the USA Network, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But for everybody else that tried to watch this when it was live at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Netflix around the world outside of the United States, there was a 40-minute shutdown of the entire show. The show just went dark. We have no idea why. The dumbass rumor that a camel chewed a cable was legitimately trending on Twitter, and somehow people on Twitter unironically believed there was actually a camel that chewed through a broadcasting cable. I can't make that shit up. Sometimes people on the internet are just dumb. No, a camel did not eat a cable, at least I don't think. But this is one of the things that we were fearing as wrestling fans when WWE Monday Night Raw for Americans went to Netflix, especially off the back of what happened in the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight with all of the buffering, Netflix going down. This is kind of our first major snafu of broadcasting issues with Netflix. I'm very curious if this same thing would have happened had we all been on cable TV. Would this also have gone down if we were on the USA Network? I have no idea. Either way, I think this is kind of like a first for me as a wrestling fan. I haven't seen something like this happen before where we had an outage and we had to just basically pause the show for 40 minutes. I missed the entirety of the Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton promo. No idea what happened. Now, I am going to watch it after the fact. Hopefully, if they do air it at 8 p.m. Eastern time on the USA Network, hopefully they didn't lose the footage. I hope it exists and that they're going to be able to broadcast it later tonight. But as of the making of this video, I haven't seen anything. I don't know what the hell they said. Triple H is allergic to just keeping the Money in the Bank winner in the shadows. Terrence, I think this is probably the best way to explain Triple H and his relationship with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I think he is genuinely allergic to just keeping it in the shadows. I've always said, out of sight, out of mind, those are the best Money in the Bank winners every single time. And when they go cash in, it's a big deal. It's a big surprise and we all rejoice. But for Triple H, for some reason, I don't know, man, I swear to God, he has an addiction to making Money in the Bank briefcase holders look like complete freaking idiots. Now, at least with Seth Rollins, I would say we're seeing a little bit of that out of sight, out of mind. Sure, he's ever looming, but he's not going out there to do fake cash-ins or anything like that. But Naomi, it is now 3 straight freaking weeks where she's tried to cash in this damn thing, and she does it again in the Last Woman Standing match, standing there like an idiot, telling the ref cash in for like 10 seconds as we wait for Tiffany Stratton to get in there and beat up Naomi and now ruin all of this aura that Naomi has built up as this cool heel. Now she just looks like an idiot. This is not a Naomi problem, okay? I don't want to put the blame on Naomi. She is looking dumb because of Triple H's booking of the Money in the Bank briefcase. It is like clockwork. It happens every single freaking year. The Cena Punk promo was unfortunately very underwhelming. Don't get me wrong, it was fun, but it was like 5 minutes long and Cena didn't say a single word to Punk. The literal two GOAT wrestlers on the mic didn't have a single full promo battle during their whole feud. So you didn't really explain as to why this was underwhelming. I think that in a vacuum on its own, the Punk life, basic Punkonomics, and what he said to John Cena was fantastic. I get what you're saying though. Not having a single back and forth promo between these two is a disservice to the feud, but this actual segment I thought was fantastic. If this segment was a building block to say a 4-week, 5-week, 6-week long build up to an actual major match, then this would have been genuinely amazing. But it is a shame that on this road to this match, this rematch between CM Punk and John Cena, we didn't actually have a back and forth conversation. But I have to disagree with you. I think that the Punk life stuff was genuinely fantastic. Again, I get where your sentiment is coming from in that not having a proper back and forth conversation between these two is highly disappointing. I know some people didn't like this segment between CM Punk and John Cena, but you can't tell me that wasn't funny when CM Punk came out with the basic Thugonomics theme song. I thought that this was genuinely brilliant. Having John Cena the week before do his Weird Al Yankovic parody version of the pipe bomb, and now we have CM Punk not coming out and doing his own version of the better pipe bomb or going hard at John Cena, but instead doing the same thing, role reversal, which is what this whole feud has been about. And now he's coming out as the doctor of Punkonomics and parodying John Cena, making fun of John Cena's old promo style and bringing it to light in 2025, and also using it as a way to prevent himself from getting booed by the Saudi crowd that was ready to boo his ass out of the building. I know that Punk apologized for the things that he said regarding Saudi Arabia back in 2019, but that crowd, they were still very pro Cena and very much ready to boo CM Punk. But this whole Punkonomics, Punk life stuff absolutely turned the crowd around, and he had him eat him out of his hands. It's not that CM Punk needs permission to say some of like the pushing the line things like he said, like comparing John Cena to Drake or comparing him to Hulk Hogan talking about how he can't wrestle and stuff. It's just that the delivery of doing it in rap verses, it feels like it hits harder. That's just rap battle life, I guess. I thought that this segment was fantastic. I thought the execution was brilliant. Did Punk stumble a couple times? Sure, Punk is not a freestyle rapper. That being said, if you do stumble over a regular promo, it's not the end of the world. If you stumble while you're trying to rap, all of a sudden you look like an amateur sometimes. Damn! Dude, this match is crazy. Oh my, dude, we are 2 minutes in.
Water veins tied to his neck. You are gonna die.
Oh! That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week we're looking at maybe one of the best matches I've ever seen, Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis in ECW 1995. The Falls Count Anywhere Hollywood ending match between Mariah May and Toni Storm. Braun Breaker versus Ilya Dragunov versus JD McDonough for the NXT Championship at Halloween Havoc 2022. And the ladder match between John Cena and Dolph Ziggler at TLC 2012. You'll be getting this, plus the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, the podcast 3 days early, plus a bunch of other series that are exclusively available to Patreon. So come check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. There's a link in the description or a link in the pinned comment if you're interested in coming over. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support. It's because of you that I'm able to do what I do as often as I do it, but now let's get you back into the video. I like how they diverted R-Truth from John Cena feud with Aleister Black, but I really don't understand why Damian Priest is involved. That's actually an easy one. I think I can explain this one. The reason why is because R-Truth is not the end-all be-all for Aleister Black. R-Truth is just a stepping stone for Aleister Black to do something bigger, and that something bigger is not R-Truth. That something bigger is former World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest. That is our big feud right there, and R-Truth, just like being the catalyst for the things that went down between Cena and CM Punk, is gonna be the catalyst for things going down between Damian Priest and Aleister Black. We're right back to where Triple H probably prefers to have R-Truth in the mid-card, probably going to be lower mid-card soon, because he's absolutely going to get stomped by Aleister Black, and R-Truth is not going to be going for world titles. He's not winning mid-card titles. He's going to be stepping stones for guys like Aleister Black moving forward. The R-Truth shine is done. The main event shine of R-Truth and John Cena, that's all over. We're not going down that path anymore. We're going back to where R-Truth fits best at this point in his career, which is as an enhancement talent for other people that are trying to make a better career for themselves, like an Aleister Black at the moment. So then again, I say it's because Damian Priest is the big prize for Aleister Black, not R-Truth. CM Punk has once again proved that he's Cena's greatest rival of all time. One way or another, he's always had Cena's numbers. I'm just a little upset that we never got to see back and forth promo between them. Yeah, so we already talked a little bit about this. This is definitely a symptom of having a short buildup, only 3 weeks between Money in the Bank and Night of Champions to properly build this up. Under most circumstances, this would have been a feud that gets like 5 weeks proper to actually build itself up, because this probably would have been a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania feud during any other time of these guys' careers. But nonetheless, for the short amount of time that we've got between these two guys building a 3-week feud, I feel like they knocked it out of the park with the little amount of time that they ultimately had. Do I wish that we got a proper back and forth harsh conversation between these two? Hell yeah, because they've done it before and it's always amazing. I think at this point you do have to consider CM Punk John Cena's greatest rival. I think the only other person that you can put him up against is obviously Randy Orton, and I really feel like Randy Orton is there as one of Cena's longest greatest rivals because of how many matches and how many feuds they have. But in terms of quality, in terms of matches, quality promos, I think CM Punk's stuff against John Cena has been better pound for pound than the stuff that John Cena and Randy Orton have done throughout their careers. So yeah, I think I'm ready to say that CM Punk is John Cena's greatest rival, which is saying a lot because John Cena is one of like the faces of Mount Rushmore in professional wrestling. So to say that this one guy is his greatest rival is a huge deal. And I think Punk at this point is Cena's greatest rival. They couldn't have just done this Wyatt 6 storyline on Raw with that shitty division. I'd be really intrigued with a New Day versus Wyatt 6 storyline storyline, not being the big and scary team of the elite SmackDown division. I do have a hard time believing that they are the elite, scariest team of the SmackDown tag team division, a SmackDown tag team division that is probably the greatest tag team division right now in all of professional wrestling across all of the different brands that exist. I kind of agree with you. I genuinely think that the Wyatt Six should be going to Monday Night Raw, not because I feel like they would fix the tag team division, but because the New Day was the perfect foil for them with what they did to Big E, with the Wyatt Six recent motivations before their hiatus about going after people that have betrayed family. The New Day was just a picture perfect, tailor-made feud for the Wyatt Six, and I find it bizarre that they never followed up the New Day's heel turn with a Wyatt Six feud. I thought that that was, to me, the most logical thing to do. Because on SmackDown, listen, I know that they're the big scary boogeyman of the tag team division, but when it comes to the in-ring quality of their work, they are probably the worst tag team that is in that insanely stacked tag team division. The fall-off in aura of the Wyatt Six needs to be studied. Looking back at the night that they debuted compared to now, are they savable? I can't see it, sadly. When they debuted, and you can go back to watch my old videos about it if you really want, I genuinely believe that that was the greatest debut that I've ever seen. I've never been more hyped for a single debut, for a repackaging of characters. I thought it was the coolest thing that WWE had produced since the Firefly Funhouse. Now, I didn't have ambitions that they were going to win world championships or anything like that, but I certainly had ambitions of them maybe being a foil to main eventers. And now, at this point, there's no way that that'll ever be the case. Fall off in aura, I would argue that you're right. I definitely have a significantly lower threshold and ceiling for what I see the Wyatt Six ultimately accomplishing in the WWE, and obviously by default, Uncle Howdy Bo Dallas. Which is a shame, man, because that debut was just so unique, so different, and just amazing. It's genuinely amazing. That DIY versus Andrade and Rey match was seriously one of the greatest tag team matches I've ever seen. They had me invested from near falls to the crowd being so into it. Hats off to Phoenix, Andrade, Gargano, and Ciampa. Also great to see Phoenix on TV. I hope Mello gets this shine too. That match was genuinely unbelievably good. So energetic, so athletic, just some moves that will absolutely blow your mind. Friggin' Rey Fenix doing a moonsault into a German suplex that literally sounds like something I just made up, but that's something that actually happened in this match. And if they want to add Andrade and Rey Fenix to the tag team division, fine, by all means. I will not fight back against that, especially with SmackDown going back to 2 hours. Guys like Andrade and Rey Fenix in the singles ecosystem are not going to get featured at all. But if you're going to tell me that you're going to add them to one of the best tag team divisions that exists right now in professional wrestling, and that maybe guarantees them time if WWE is willing to make sure that the tag team division gets its shine every single week on SmackDown, then sure, this is nothing but a win for both Andrade and Rey Fenix, who, when I looked at their career outlook and projection moving forward in the WWE, was just nothing but brick walls and dead ends for them. Now, you might say, hey, why not add these guys to the Raw tag team division? They need help. I'm here to tell you that the Raw tag team division's problem is not talent. It's just a lack of care of the tag team division. They could make that division great with what they have. They just clearly choose not to. Adding 1 or 2 good tag teams to the Raw tag team division is not going to fix the fundamental problems of that tag team division, which is just a lack of care from writers. Seriously, add any of the teams from SmackDown and it'll still be a dead, barren tag team division that no one will care about. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, oh my goodness, the things that they're writing for them, the time that they're being given is everything that you want out of a tag team division. They need to bring back big stages on PLEs. It was so refreshing to see and made the show feel like a bigger deal. Honestly, yeah, dude. I obviously understand why WWE has the low-key stages now, because it opens up an opportunity to sell more tickets in the area that would have been blocked by a big-ass stage. And that is, a symptom of having a really popular product. You just need more room to get more people in the building. But I'm not gonna lie, man, I was feeling nostalgic seeing that awesome stage for Friday Night SmackDown. I know that that's the stage for Night of Champions, but dude, it just looked awesome. It looked beautiful. It made entrances feel special. It made people like Julia's entrance feel like it was out of this world. So yeah, dude, I do miss stages. Again, I understand why they're not a thing anymore, but I miss them. It's a shame Zelina hasn't had as much relevance as champ. I really hope Julia gives the title as much importance as Lyra and Becky have, and for that, she'll need a strong rival. I think this was the proper move. Julia winning the United States Championship, to me, was the easiest right call that WWE could make, because it was clear as day that the Zelina Vega Championship reign experiment just simply was not working. Not Zelina Vega's fault. It was WWE's fault for not even trying with Zelina Vega. Again, I've said this in previous videos, but how do you have Zelina Vega, one of the best mic workers in your entire company, not cut a single promo on the mic in the ring? I genuinely cannot remember a single one in-ring mic promo when she was champ. Julia, on the other hand, is a hard reset for this division. We are moving away from a Chelsea Green, a comedic character, a Zelina Vega, an underdog that's like really small that gets ragdolled and thrown all over the place, to a genuine machine, to a badass in Julia. And with Julia being newer to the main roster, she still has a lot of growth in terms of connecting with the fans, in terms of fans understanding what Julia is all about. And I actually think that they can use this to their advantage, because now they can develop the importance of the United States Championship alongside developing Julia. Julia doesn't have baggage. Julia has never been a jobber. Julia has never been a comedic act. Julia has never been a manager. Julia is just a straight up wrestling machine. And honestly, I wouldn't hate if they do a long ass run for Julia where she continues to build herself as this monster in the mid card, so that she can eventually elevate herself to women's world title status. It's also just nice and refreshing to see somebody from NXT getting called up and winning some championship gold as early as Julia did. I think it's a great vote of confidence, but again, more than anything, this is just a necessary reset button for this women's United States Championship division, because right now it pales in comparison in terms of overall care from the fan base when it comes to the overall prestige and importance of the titles. That last women's standing match should have been a Night of Champions, not including the fake cash-in. It was a solid match all around and would have been great addition to the PLE that used to be about title defenses, especially since they have women's stipulation match with no title on the card. Yep, I literally have nothing extra to say except, yep, this should have been a Night of Champions. If you aren't on board for Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax, I literally do not blame you, because this feud is already played out. But if you want me to truly believe that this is it, that it's over, that Tiffany has finally conquered Nia Jax, doing it at a PLE would have been a much better way to send that message. The match was solid. It had some great spots. It had big stakes with it being for the WWE Women's Championship. It had everything in terms of the checklist for it to be at a PLE, and it honestly should have been. I just sincerely hope that after this women's last man standing match that it's over, it's done. We can go do new things for Tiffany Stratton, change the direction for Nia Jax that isn't just only going after the Women's World Championship. I think it's time for a reset here for both challenger and for champion. I will say, this is another kind of a Triple H trope recently, where it seems like you cannot beat a babyface in a last man standing match unless you borderline decapitate them with a chainsaw, because that's exactly what happened in this match. Nia Jax hits a clean annihilator and then an annihilator while on top of a chair. That is a move that without the chair has won her championships, taken people out, injured people on screen. And now when you do a regular annihilator plus a chair annihilator, you get up after 9. I don't know, dude. It's WWE that has a fascination with doing insane things to baby faces while them still getting up. It's classic WWE. I'm sold on wanting Asuka to win tomorrow now. Her aura is insane. Sorry to speak like a Gen Zer here. I know many of my viewers are Gen Zers, but did she completely out aura Jade Cargill? I'm sorry that I had to speak like that, but it's kind of true. Jade Cargill's whole shtick is that she is aura. Her whole entrance is aura. But when she was across the ring from Asuka, I'm sorry, even though Jade Cargill is the significantly bigger physical presence, Asuka felt like the bigger presence in the ring. There is just a charisma, a body language from Asuka that just exudes cool in a way that doesn't feel forced, where sometimes with Jade Cargill, it does feel like I can see WWE trying to make me believe that she's cool, but not Asuka. Asuka is actually just fucking cool. And that crowd kind of sided with me here. That crowd was entirely pro Asuka, but that crowd's going to be severely disappointed because Jade Cargill's winning this Queen of the Ring tournament. I can't believe that I'm saying this, but I might as well say it. Send WrestleMania to the Saudis. It's a great crowd and it's a great time zone, and it brings big money to TKO's pockets. Who cares for US today anyway? All right, so I'll say this like immediately. I could give two rats ass about TKO's bottom line. I do not care whether they make tons of money, whether they have another record-breaking gate. We've had the most amount of tickets sold. I genuinely could not care about TKO being financially viable. Here's what I'm going to say about what you just said, though. It's inevitable. Saudi is going to get WrestleMania. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So you guys might as well just get used to the idea of it happening. But at the very least, even if you don't like the idea of Saudi, the country, getting WrestleMania, I kind of like what he says about time zones. It was nice being done at around 4 p.m. today with SmackDown, but also it's going to have a sick crowd because they demonstrated today that they are amongst the elite crowds in the world of the WWE. So if you hate the idea of WrestleMania going to Saudi Arabia, one, get over it because it's going to happen. Like it's inevitable. But at the very least, you can look at the silver lining of a great time zone in a dope crowd. TKO summed up technical difficulties for 30 minutes, back for 3 minutes, and then we go to advertisements. TKO to WWE fans right now. Dude, that was ridiculous. All right. It was actually like 40 minutes that they were down. They come back. They do a little segment between JC Mateo and Solo Sikoa. And then they have the fucking nerve to go to commercial break after being down for 30 minutes. Are you kidding me? After this look that Zelina gave, I'm 100% sure that she's turning heel soon. It would be better for her because as a heel, she's better in my opinion. Yeah, like every single thing that I've seen from Zelina Vega throughout her career, she's just been better as a heel. I don't know that this is something that they're going to do. I'm sure that she's going to be running it back with Julia at the very least one time. But Zelina Vega has always just been better on the roster as a heel. And with both champions being baby faces at the moment, I do feel like there's a bit of a vacuum right now when it comes to heels, which is why somebody like Naomi was able to make and take huge strides forward when she turned heel, because all of the top women right now are baby faces. The Io Skys, Bianca's, Jade's, Asuka, Jade, I already said Jade, Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, obviously. All of those names are baby faces, so there is room for people like a Zelina Vega to carve out a piece of the pie if they can be good heels, and Zelina Vega can be an excellent heel. We're going the Gunther route. I didn't initially think about this when I was talking about Julia. That's exactly what they need to do. That's exactly what they did with the Intercontinental Championship. The Intercontinental Championship was completely dead. Like, it was a completely irrelevant title. Like, genuinely, these titles back here that I bought, these titles had more prestige than the Intercontinental Championship until Gunther arrived. And then Gunther took over. He was a machine, having great matches, annihilating people, holding this thing for a record amount of time. Honestly, it served as a reset for that title that made that title feel special. And that's something that they can do with the United States Championship right now with Julia. It desperately needs a little bit of that Gunther type of run. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. Again, don't forget, I'll be watching Night of Champions here on YouTube with you guys if you guys want to come by. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.